Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, this is Alex, and this is the Ramble, and we go until midnight tonight, originating from the East Coast of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown is one of our favorite people, and that's why we call out to California, and we make an exception with him where everybody else has a camera so we can see them. Larry Brown doesn't. You still have the flip phone, right?
I got the flip, yeah.
Does it take pictures?
It does take pictures.
Oh, really? It does take pictures.
And it actually has the ability to get online, but I think the phone is broken because it won't connect, but it's supposed to.
No, I see. Okay. Well, anytime you want a phone, I got one sitting. I got at least one sitting here, if not more.
Got an apple with my name on it.
Yeah, and then we could have everybody could see you.
Well, that wouldn't be a minus. So.
Yeah. No. I sent you a picture of yourself. What? Well, I don't know when that was.
Yeah,
taken.
That was I think a Sue Murphy picture.
Really?
She released a bunch of those. The pictures, I don't remember when she took it, but she took a bunch of pictures of comics, and I've got some to send to you. I've got someone took a picture of me and you talking at 1986 Comedy Day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Son of a bitch. See? And yeah. Because I think those photographs that I found that you say Sue Murphy took. She took
right.
it probably our Frost Amphitheater show.
That could be.
Yeah. Because I seem to recognize there were other photographs that came with it, and I seem to recognize the background and things like that. But you were so young. You were so young.
Oh, God.
You're probably better looking now.
Well, I don't know. You don't.
But I have no idea what you look like now.
Really? I'll send you. Well, you can see me on Facebook, probably.
Well, yeah, but it's not a current picture, is it?
I got a current picture on there, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, and you have a Facebook account?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I'm surprised.
I know.
I'm surprised. How do you put stuff on it?
Well, I can't. I have to. I don't know. I don't even know how to put a picture online. So.
See, I do Pearl. He does it on his iPhone. I do Kravitz. He does it from his computer. So all these other people, you're the only one that I run a slide that says Larry Bubbles Brown when we're doing
I got to learn. I wish I knew how to do some of this stuff.
Well, it's not that complicated.
I have things. I have things I'd like to put on. I have a letter from John F. Kennedy. I'd like to put a picture of that online.
See, all you would have to do is take a picture with your iPhone and put it onto your page. It's just you're just. I think now. I honestly believe the only reason you're resisting all of this, you're afraid of ruining your reputation. Well, am I right?
There's got to be some block why I'm not going through it.
What would we have to talk about now if we weren't talking about the fact that you are so technologically inept?
It's part of my charm.
I guess.
I'm a Luddite.
I could tell you it's the new way of communicating, and then you're saying, well, I don't want to communicate with people.
That's kind of true, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what do you think now? We have a new president,
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a little calmer now that Trump's gone, that we don't have this Trump fatigue every day?
I don't know. I think we've gone from mad to sad.
Well, I just, I have to say I'm getting a little tired of hearing from Biden every day with his conferences. Just shut the fuck up, do the job, leave us alone, and tell us when, the apocalypse is coming.
Exactly, yeah.
I find this unacceptable, so... but it's okay. Anyway, Larry has usually. What do you do? Do you go to an almanac or something?
I go to an almanac. I do go online sometimes. But I had a question. I figure you would know the answer.
Yeah.
The Beatles had their big concert tour in 1966.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. Do you know how long those shows were?
How long the shows were?
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Ask me that question again.
How long did the Beatles play in those big tours?
I would say, okay, I hosted a Beatles, or maybe I didn't host it, but I certainly, our station hosted it, and I was at it in Houston, Texas. And I'm telling you now that I know it was 45 minutes.
When I read it was 30.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it was 45, but you may be right.
And they were shockingly short, and they did have they had some bands, they had some other bands on the show, too, which I didn't know.
Yeah. I can't remember who the other bands were, might have been Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, I don't know.
Someone was the Rascals.
The Rascals. Well, that would be the little the Rascals, and they were a very famous band at the time. Yeah,
I looked this up last night, and then they did a show at Shea Stadium that had 55,000 people,
mm-hmm.
and they grossed $600,000, which means the tickets were barely over $10.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was the biggest gross of a show in history.
Wow. Jeez. That's
and they
cool.
said did you do it at the Astrodome?
We did it at the Houston Coliseum.
Okay, well, they said that the noise was so loud that you see cops standing there with their hands over their ears.
Supposedly the crowd was screaming so loudly that the Beatles said they were just mouthing the music. They weren't even singing. They didn't have to. You couldn't hear them if they did. So nobody knew that they really didn't get a concert at all. Yeah, but no, you might be right at 30 minutes. I know it was. I know it was. It was short, but it wasn't short for the day. I mean, in those days, the average concert was 30 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then as years went on, I think, what's an average concert now? 2 hours, something like that?
Yeah, and then Springsteen do 3 or 4.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and I remember that was the time that Ringo stepped on my hand.
Really?
Well, what happened was I was standing backstage while it was going on in the back of the stage, and I had my hand on the steps to kind of keep myself aright or whatever, and not get tired from standing. And when they finally do their last song, they never said goodbye. They just put their instruments down and ran off stage and into an armored truck.
Yeah, so they are delivered in a Wells Fargo armored truck.
Yeah, and as they were coming down the stairs, Ringo stepped on my hand. Years later, when I interviewed him, I reminded him that he had stepped on my hand and he apologized. So, But I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they just rushed them off. I mean, they didn't even say goodbye, so nobody knew the concert was over. And also, when you go to see concerts now, they have all these huge amps and amplification and the sound equipment and so on. Do you know what the Beatles had? Those little amps that you plug a guitar into.
Wow!
Not these big, huge amps that fill an auditorium. These were just these little, the regular amps they probably had when they were playing in those clubs in the Rotterdam or whatever the place was he used to play in.
It's amazing why did they become so huge? It's incredible.
Well, my argument was, if it wasn't the Beatles, it would have been somebody else. That it was just time and ready to happen. Okay? And it was them because it was them. What can we say? You know, I mean, I wish I could say there's an answer to that question. But I just think that they were zeitgeist. They were the tempo of the times. And it was just time for that kind of thing to happen. That make sense?
Yeah, and it would have been somebody else, probably.
Well, I mean, why did Elvis Presley happen? Elvis Presley was a product of his times. Then about 10 years later, you had the Beatles, okay? And they were a product of their times. By the way, you say, well, who was prior to Presley? About 10 years earlier, you had Sinatra. You know, but the thing that Elvis represented was Elvis was the first emergence of what we call teen culture, where there was actually teens listened, and it was music for them, and they congealed as a group and as a culture. Prior to that, their culture was when you were a kid, you dressed like a kid, and then there was no teenage period. As soon as you became a teenager, you started dressing like your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You remember, I mean, I don't know if you remember that, but if you go back and look at it, you know. So what happened was this was the first time when Presley came along where there was actually a dress and a music and, you know, even movies that were made to appeal to that group between, 12 and 18. You know, but you were either a kid or you were an adult. You were nothing in between. So, thank you very much. That's my lecture tonight on culture.
It's just incredible to see these teenage girls literally getting hysterical.
Yes, and supposedly the legend is one agent of Frank Sinatra's remembers going to a Sinatra concert with the Bobby Soxers, you know, these girls that would scream as he sang. And he said you could smell urine because they were pissing their pants.
Really?
Yeah, he said you could smell urine as you walked by all these girls.
Good Lord.
But there are some stories that they actually paid girls to scream so that the rest of them would scream. Right?
Okay.
You know, so. You got another question for me, quickly?
Yeah, well, the person that the non-musical people that kind of got that type of fame were Martin and Lewis.
Yes, they got huge. They were. If you get a chance, folks, just go to YouTube and go look up Martin and Lewis and look for video of them or films of them outside at the Paramount Theater, out of their window to the crowd below. And you would think, if you just showed the crowd below, these were people trying to wait for the Beatles.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they were that big. They were that much of a sensation. But they weren't a rock group, and that was the strange part about it. But yet they appealed. They, you know, obviously, if you're going to have crowds of people down there, they're going to be kids, because who's got time to go wait outside the Paramount Theater? And you know, Martin and Lewis were waving at them, and they were all screaming. And if you just eliminated Martin and Lewis, you'd think the Beatles were kind of looking out the window.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, so you see, comedy can be.
And I think, to a certain extent, I think Steve Martin almost reached that kind of mania when he popped in 77.
Kind of, yeah. I saw one of his concerts where he played. The reason he stopped doing comedy is I saw him at the Nassau Coliseum, and he said when it got that big, it just wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't comedy, you know.
Comedy's not meant to be.
But comedy is not a stadium event, all right. No. And he said, that's when I decided I'd go to movies. You know, and he never really did. I don't think he ever went back to stand up again.
No, he quit at the top and did.
But he also wasn't your traditional stand-up. I mean, he came out of being a writer for television, okay? And he just came up with this act, and it became sensational. And it was a great act, too. It was a very funny act. But anyway,
great, yeah.
Hey, listen, it's amazing. When I talk to you, time just flies by. Not like we're having...
talking about old
not like, not like
this is great.
Not like we can say, boy, how time flies when you're having fun, because with Larry Bubbles Brown, you never have fun.
No.
Not in the traditional sense. But go listen to him on Amazon, because his that comedy thing you did is just terrific. It is just hilarious.
I'll have to listen to it.
It's the best you've ever been.
Wow, that's great.
But that doesn't say much because you sucked before. Anyway,
yeah, that's true.
Hey, let's talk again next week, okay, Larry?
We'll do, Alex.
Larry
Thank
Bubbles
you.
Brown, ladies and gentlemen.
Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And our good friend Larry Bubbles Brown, folks. We love Larry. Everybody loves Larry. Everybody loves Larry. Oh, hello. How are you? God, I'm tired tonight. I took a Xanax last night to go to sleep, and then what happens to me is I'm tired for the whole next day. So what can I say? But I take that other pill, and it makes me feel good all day long. So I'll take that other pill tonight. Go to sleep. When your whole life is dependent on what pills you're taking, you begin to, Anyway, let me see here. Anything happening that I should let you know? Oh, I'll tell you what happened. I wrote the City of New York. Okay, I wrote the City of New York this blazing letter about how bad the service was when we went to go get our shot. That we had to wait for 2 hours in line. On a rather cold day, that these are old people waiting for their shots, and they don't, it's not good to have them standing out there for 2 hours. And then I said that, they said, be there on time, but, then you weren't on time, and we were 2 hours late in getting our injection. And that I complained about certain things about the way it was being handled, because I said if people are not computer literate, this could be a very difficult proposition trying to sign up for this thing. And I wrote them this whole list of particulars, and they send me back. I didn't get a reply for a while, and then they send me back a form letter. Thank you for your email to Mayor de Blasio. Our New York City vaccine for all campaign is the largest blah, 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 blah. Goes on, tells us about you can use this, and you can call this number, and you can do that, and you can do this. Did not answer or attend to any of my questions. You would think they would have one form letter that goes, because people would complain about such things. Well, we're sorry for you your life being disrupted this way, and we're trying to fix the whole thing. And it could still be a form letter, but at least a form letter that somehow answers or tends to what you ask them to do. This is what's so screwed up about New York and about New York State and their handling, not of the COVID crisis, although early on the governor did screw up, and he's being called to account for it now. But he's pretty well handled it pretty well ever since, and I was absolutely enamored with him in the way he was handling it until now. And now they've just been doing a terrible job of it. And I hear about people, in other states, like out in California, who say, "Hey, I just walked in, I walked out, got the shot, boom, me in my arm. I had an appointment for it, did it right on time, left." I had to sit there for 15 minutes, to make sure I didn't pass out or something like that. And but then you come to New York, and here's this whole thing where we had to wait outside, and then they didn't give me the right information on how to sign up for my second appointment. And my second appointment was like for 38 days later rather than 28 days later. And I did it right. I did it with somebody there who said, "Oh, the earliest date you can do it is on the 27th of February." Meanwhile, Shecky goes out to his place and he gets it on the 25th, and he just got his shot yesterday. Okay, so I mean, all these kind of things going on. I mean, I've looked it up though, and the CDC says if you do it before 42 days, you're fine. And they don't know if you aren't fine after 42 days. It's just that it hasn't been tested beyond that to see it's how good it is or bad it is. Then I go and I look at what England is doing, and they're doing 12 weeks. They're saying 12 weeks till this next shot. Don't worry, you ain't got no problem, So I don't know. But they're just handling it so badly. It just makes me want to vomit. Okay. Anyway, let's see here. We only have about 3 people waiting to come on, but what the hell? That is a citizen panel. Ideally, it's not a full citizen panel, but it is a citizen panel. And there it goes. And Brian Neary is out there waiting to come in. So then we have an additional person. And let's say hello to our panel. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Trucker Steve. And, of course, your sidekick, Rocky. Oh, it's now sidekick. Yeah. And, of course, Brian Neary out there in California as well. How are you all doing this evening?
Good.
Pretty good.
And Charlie, how are we doing this evening?
Oh, we lost another 3,600 people today.
Jeez almighty, what is it ever going to stop?
Eventually,
not.
somehow, either we're all going to die or...
It's looking more like this is that thing out of science fiction movies. Really, every day I see, they go, well, now the South African strain, let's see, the Moderna... and
Another 3,600 people today.
Jeez almighty, what is it? Wait, who's got their...
Somebody's got...
Somebody's got their... well, we just lost Jeff.
I think it was Jeff.
It was obviously Jeff because it stopped. No, I mean, it's just, let me see. Here comes Alan. The reason we went blank or something like that and OBS reconnected is because something happened on this side. I don't know what it was. It could have been the internet. It could have been something like that, but we had a problem. Let me just make sure I'm going out there. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Where is it? I'm trying to look at where are we? I don't.
Here.
I'm trying to find. Let me see here. Let me get rid of something here, and then I will redo it. Put myself back on. Okay. Bring myself back up again. Oh man, this is like, this is ridiculous. It's so absurd.
I see you. That's
Huh?
all that's important.
I know. We're fine now. Let me see here. Let me admit them. I don't know what the problem was. Okay, I can't. I've got to get this thing going back. I've got to get my Chrome up so I can see that we're actually going out okay.
Charlie, what's your shirt say?
Yeah. But
I found this humorous.
I found this humorous.
It looks like a sperm going up towards the chin.
Yeah, in case you people said,
It's a humorous.
in case of some of you people out there, we went out or something like that.
Oh, no.
We got entertainment tonight.
Hey, folks, we went out for a couple of minutes, but the fact is, that considering what's going on now, we should have stayed off.
What, you don't like my plan?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, there we go.
I've been practicing.
I think we're
Really? When?
Bert, Albert, and the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're okay. We're up and running. I'm sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened, but something froze up here, And I don't know what it was or for what reason it was, but it froze up. It could have very well been my internet connection may have gone down. I don't know if it was that. I can't figure out what it was. I'm not going to try and figure out what it is.
Doesn't matter.
I get tired of this. I just want.
How you
one
doing,
night.
Alex?
Huh?
How you doing?
Suck. Wait a minute.
Don't ask him.
Hold on a second. There.
Thank you.
No. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
there we
yeah.
go.
I wonder who sent this to me.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine.
Maybe Joe Biden did.
No.
All I know is this came by Amazon today. You know, they can't deliver any of my other stuff. The coffee doesn't come or the whatever doesn't come, but
You said $10 or more, and I know I paid $10 for the hat or more, and so I sent you a hat because we're getting tired of your other hat.
wait a minute. Who's got audio on?
This came by Amazon.
Oh, audio. Your audio is on, Jeff.
Yeah.
He doesn't come or the
Turn your YouTube
Oh,
off.
sound good.
Wait a
There's
minute.
something in the background.
Mute
It's your
yourself.
YouTube.
And I know I paid $10.
Mute yourself, Jeff.
And so I sent you a hat because we're getting tired of your
Well, I'll mute you.
It's your YouTube.
Yeah, it is you, Jeff. No, it isn't. I don't know.
Not me.
Yeah. No,
Jeff
and,
gone, noise is gone.
and Jeff, when he can't decide what you do, folks, when you call the program, although none of you are going to, so fuck you.
By the way, I
when you
like
call,
your hat.
yeah, when you call the program, please turn off your YouTube, okay? Because that's what then comes through sometimes, and that can be a problem. Okay.
I only did that once, and I learned.
Yeah. But anyway, so I don't know what froze up here, but it unfroze. So that's the first time that's ever happened to me. But there's a first for everything technologically, you know.
The virus caused it.
When you're doing this kind of thing here, see, like all these other people that do podcasts don't know the first thing about computers. So they go out and hire some people to come in and run the whole operation for them, and they got to worry about the technology. I do everything here. You know, when I switch from like myself to the Zoom panel like this, I do that myself. You know, I'm doing that all myself. When this thing comes on every night, it's because I get it to come on, and the reason it has a thing that sends the signal out to you from YouTube is because I flip a switch, you know. So that's the story. And
Can I make a comment?
what?
Can I make a comment? Take your hat off and straighten it out. It looks like it's smashed in.
What looks like it's smashed in?
The
Where's it?
Biden part. There you go. Now you got it. Sorta.
Well, how was it smashed in?
I don't know. Just
Like,
the BI is it kind of crushed in. No, it's better now.
no,
You're
just,
fine.
It's just the way my head is balanced.
Oh,
you know?
I have the same problem.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll wear this all the time. However, this is my favorite hat. This one.
I know.
My Chinese military hat. By the way, I saw a documentary on the BBC did, and very good about the Wuhan crisis in China and how they handled the whole thing, and the politics behind it, and you know what the World Health Organization knew, and so on and so forth. If they ever show it over here, folks, you should watch it. It was really, really spectacular. And
What channel?
hmm.
What channel was it on?
Well, this is on the BBC in England. How did I get it? Well, I won't tell you that. That's my little secret. Okay. But if you know how to get BBC programming, go right ahead and do it. You know, one way you can do it is if you have a VPN, have your VPN go on use the London VPN, and then you can watch any of their programs on their website.
Absolutely.
But you can't do that if you're watching it from here. But anyway, it was just a spectacular documentary about it because it's all, it had something that a lot to do with the Chinese attitude about this sort of thing. And it was almost similar to Trump's in a strange way, in that they go, well, we don't want to panic the public. Okay, so we're going to deny everything until we have the facts. And by the time they had the facts, it was too late, But they talk about that wet market and, with how that's where they said that it seemed to come from there. It didn't come from a bat exactly. It came from something else that the bat had something to do with, like some meat product or whatever. And that's where it came from. But for 2 months, they were saying there were only 42 cases when there were hundreds and hundreds of cases, But it's
didn't they get control of it by just locking everybody down?
Oh, they locked everybody down in Wuhan. Nothing could come into Wuhan and nothing could leave Wuhan until they knew that it was safe to do so. But
so they got it. So Wuhan now is probably the safest place in the world.
Well, it could be, but the fact was that they didn't lock it down fast enough because some of those people got out of there, went to England, went to Europe, then it hit Europe, and then it came here, to the West Coast. It showed up in, where did it show up? In Seattle, I think, first here in this country. Although they think there may have been a case earlier than that, maybe as far back as October.
Well, didn't they say there was one in California before?
Yeah,
there
was one in California.
Yeah.
Around San Francisco?
Yeah. Santa Clara. Yeah. That's like the next city.
Brian's house.
But when you see that this whole thing started with just a handful of people getting it,
Yep.
and how many people in the world got it? Man, oh
Over
man.
100 million now.
Huh?
Over 100 million.
Over 100 million. I mean, really, really, really scary. Just scary.
And that's the thing with this virus, and that's the worry about the South African variant, is that they think it's a little bit more explosive than that. So.
Yeah. Well, what the hell? By the time I get my second shot, they're going to go, well, that one doesn't work.
Gotta take the Johnson & Johnson one shot.
Huh?
Johnson is saying it's weak.
The Johnson & Johnson one shot.
I wouldn't want the Johnson & Johnson, would you?
Well, it's less percentage.
They say it may be as low as 65%.
Yeah.
Effective.
But
well, what do I need with 65% effective? I'll get the other 35%. Okay.
They're off catching, getting beaten it, and you might be immune to it.
Yeah, but I mean, what I would like, I want the one that's,
Yeah.
68% is a lot better than nothing.
Well,
zero.
what I read tonight on a CDC site was that there's a feeling that the Moderna and the Pfizer, even on the first shot, after several weeks, affords you upwards to 80% protection. Oh, wow. That all the second shot does is take you to the 95, but 80%, supposedly after about 3 weeks, after about I think it was 12 days, you're with Moderna, you're at 50%, but it does keep increasing. So
the Moderna, and the thing that I know is the Moderna, and you can do the one shot, it'll take you to 80%, like you said. But what's happened with vaccines like this, and the shingles vaccine, why they give you two, is because the first one wears off in a month or two, and then you have no protection. So
yeah. So
that's why the second shot.
But all I'm saying is that well, here we go talking about COVID again tonight.
I watched the Go-Go's documentary on Showtime.
That's a good one.
Good.
That's
I
good.
saw that.
Yeah, it's very good.
Who are the Go-Go's?
Who are the Go-Go's?
Who are the
They
Go-Go's?
were
The Go-Go's.
The Go-Go's? Only the greatest girl band of all time.
Ever.
Ever.
Wow.
Of course,
I'll have to Google that.
There haven't been that many girl bands, however. So,
Where were you in the 80s? Where were you in the 80s, Alan?
Here in Fremont, but they weren't here.
Really? They're a California band.
Southern California, yeah.
Wow.
I know what
I was
girls like.
watching Sean Cassidy. I'm kidding.
Lips are sealed. Yeah.
No, I mean what I liked about I really liked the Go-Go's because I liked the way they kind of like it was nah, 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 nah. It was
They were
the kind of
great
music
songs,
they
too,
did.
right?
It was great.
What about
Yeah,
the
and they-
Spice Girls?
Yeah. Yeah, the Spice Girls. They didn't play any instruments.
Oh, the
but
Spice
They
Girls.
also
The Spice Girls sucked compared to the Go-Go's. I'm
Oh
serious.
man,
Bangles,
that's low.
the
Listen, no,
Bangles.
the
all
serious.
those.
The Go-Go's were a girl band who played, and I'm using the term "girl," yes, because that's what we called them. But they were a girl band who all played their own instruments. With the Spice Girls, they didn't play shit. They just looked good and had tits, and that was it.
And that's all there needs to be for you, right, Alex? Looking good. And having tits.
No. If I'm going to listen to music, I want it to be good. Okay? And I thought they were damn good.
But it helps that they look good and have tits.
And this documentary really shows how good they
It's
were.
good.
Another good.
And
Go ahead.
it's amazing how many pictures they have from back then when they're in the punk scene.
Okay.
You know, it's cool because of the technology. Not everybody has phones, but when you start doing these documentaries, they actually have a lot of footage from them, either at shows or playing early
Yeah,
shows.
when they were like just playing garages and stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they really didn't even know how to play instruments, They just kind of learned it on the fly,
Yeah.
Kind of like the Partridge Family.
Come on.
Well,
They're playing.
I always thought as a kid they did.
Come on, yeah. Come
I got
on,
something wrong on
Partridge.
DVD.
Partridge Family had the greatest backup band in the world, which was called the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, I mean, the Partridge Family wasn't a band.
Yeah.
They were a mythical band on a TV show.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, you could even go back to the Monkees. The Monkees, when they first started out, were basically just a bunch of actors, and I think one of them was a musician.
I think
And-
Nesmith might have been his musician.
Well,
Mike Nesmith.
Nesmith was the musician in the group.
I was watching that documentary
Peter
about
Tork
the
also
the
played
Wrecking
an
Crew.
instrument.
I met him at a comic show, Alex Peter Talk. He was actually pretty nice. He was at one of the Big Apple cons.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say to him. What do you say to the guy?
You say,
When-
well, you
when
don't say
the,
anything to him now. He's dead. But
That's true, yeah. But he wanted like $50 for an autograph. I just had to walk by and I was like, I'm not spending $50.
What were you saying, Sparky?
When
He's Sparky
the Beach
tonight.
Boys were recording one of their records, the drummer, what's his name? Not Brian Wilson, but the other one. He shows up and they just go, we don't even need you. Just so you can just kind of sit over on the side.
Who? The Beach Boys?
Yeah, the Beach Boys,
Really?
the drummer, Dennis Wilson.
Dennis Wilson played drums fine.
Yeah, I know, but the Wrecking Crew was on the records. It was the Wrecking Crew.
The
that
Wrecking
played on
Crew.
those.
No, the Wrecking Crew didn't do Beach Boys. They did a lot
Yeah,
of
they did.
people. I don't believe
they
they
did.
did. I
They
don't.
did.
I don't believe they did. They may have done some backup,
Yeah, that's
but
what I
they
mean.
didn't do the
On
main
the
instrument.
records.
They didn't do the main instrumentation. I mean, that was
On the
that-
records they did.
No, it was Brian Wilson. Dennis Wilson was on drums.
Brian Wilson.
And then there was
Watch the
then
documentary.
they had to fill in the more of the background, and then they would go hire the Wrecking Crew to do that.
Yeah.
But the Wrecking Crew were a group of musicians in L.A. who played on almost every session, and they contained what are considered to be a group of the finest musicians you could lay your hands on anywhere. And they played on the backgrounds to a lot of records that where they were the main impetus in the background for the music. But the Monkees weren't doing much of anything. They did learn how to play instruments so they could go on stage and do their act. But there's a great documentary. Also, this one's on, I believe it's also on HBO Max. The one you're talking about, Brian, was on Showtime?
Showtime. Yeah, Showtime.
But on HBO Max is the documentary on the Bee Gees.
Oh, I saw that one. I liked it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I'll tell you why. Because I couldn't stand the Bee Gees, and I completely,
I liked it.
when they existed, I completely ignored them. I didn't care what they did or how they did it. They just didn't seem very good to me. And they had that high voice and everything. I watched this documentary, and after it was over, I went, they were greater than I ever gave them credit for. And they wrote after they no longer were big themselves, they wrote songs for other people that were, you know, major hits. These guys were just very, very talented, and they kept reinventing themselves.
Yeah, they did a duet with Streisand one time. I remember that. They did a lot of stuff. You didn't realize how much they really did.
Yeah.
Islands in a Stream, that one Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers song they wrote.
That was theirs. I mean, they
really big. Yeah.
They wrote literally dozens upon dozens of songs for other people after they were through, and it was you know, it's a great documentary if you get a chance. I mean, Marjorie and I were watching, going, oh, we don't want to watch the Bee Gees. Well, let's just watch a little bit of it, okay? And before we knew it, we had watched both parts of it, and we thought it was. We went, gee, we looked at each other and said, I didn't realize they were that good.
You know what I was going to ask you, Alex? The guy did you know the radio disc jockey who did that whole Disco Stinks? Did he just get a name for himself? Was that like a stunt? Remember they were showing it where they were smashing the records or something?
I know the program director. I'm trying to remember his name now because he's a friend of mine, and I can't remember his name, obviously, because I'm losing it. But he came up with that idea, and then he had a disc jockey do it. And he's always felt rather guilty about it because what it did do was ruin the Bee Gees' career.
Yeah, I felt bad for them because they had, you know, they had their own niche. It was almost like they was like scoring.
It's in there, and it's all about them doing that, you know, and you know that was the thing that suddenly, this was after Saturday Night Fever and everything, the thing that finally killed their career. And they had a hard time selling records and even getting record labels. So they went to writing songs for other people at that point. But this friend of mine, who was a program director, who thought up the idea and then had a disc jockey at his station do it, has told people that he knows that he feels very guilty about having done it. You know, that he feels that it was unwarranted, and that really they were better than that, and they didn't deserve what they got, you know. So that's the story with the Bee Gees.
What'd you think of Cousin Brucey? Do you ever remember him?
Don't make me puke.
I did. I don't know. I just read an article about the guy. He just got hired. He's like in his 90s.
I don't know. Brucey keeps surviving. I knew Brucey. I've known Brucey. I worked with him at Sirius XM. He was bigger in publicizing himself than he ever was in reality. There were a lot of other disc jockeys at the time, like Murray the K and so on, who were certainly far more popular than he ever was. And the only reason why people look upon him as some kind of broadcast icon is because he's still alive and he's still doing radio somewhere. Okay?
He's in New York now doing WABC.
Yeah, well, that's almost like not doing radio at all. But, you know.
WABC's got Giuliani doing a talk show.
Yeah.
So why watch it?
Why wouldn't?
Why watch what?
It's
the talk show with Giuliani.
It's not. You don't watch it. You hear it.
Oh, sorry.
There is an advantage there. You don't have to look at him.
Yeah, there you go.
You
Good
know,
point.
He has a face made for radio, as do I, as a matter of fact. So, you know, funny thing about how can I describe this? Brucey gets a job at Sirius XM, right? I'm there already, and they give him a studio to do it out of, and he's doing it like once a week or something. And he goes in there, and he just plasters pictures of himself everywhere in the studio. He only uses it once a week, but he plasters pictures everywhere, and he's got pictures facing outward, so you can, because we have these floor-to-ceiling glass windows in each studio. So they put his wife went in and put all these pictures of him over the years. And the only thing is that he's got a nice big shock of hair. Not 1 inch of it is his own. Okay. Yeah. And what happens is there are pictures of him with his, with the Beatles. and his hair is thinning. And then with somebody else and his hair is thinning more. And then all of a sudden the picture recently and he's got this big shock of hair. Who the fuck does he think he's fooling? You know, if you are going to wear a wig, then don't ever show a picture of yourself without the wig. Because people are going to go, you know, you don't grow hair like that. What's that? Oh, that's
so that night that they tore up all those albums on the arena. That's what they were. They were at Oakland Coliseum, and I was there.
Really?
This is the program from Oakland.
Oh wow!
Wow.
My parents went to all the concerts. Bob Dylan and the ticket stub still there from Oakland Coliseum. $10 to see him.
Who's that? Dylan? Yeah. Okay.
And you know where we were? You know where they used to go all the time, Alex? You know that is Circle Star.
Oh, I love that.
San Carlos.
Yeah, so Circle Star, they saw them, Nat King Cole, and
Nice.
Oh, wow.
I got Harry Belafonte, all these old programs.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's
You could probably sell those.
Tony,
on
you want to
eBay.
buy these? You want to buy them, Tony? Come on, man. I'll sell you the whole lot.
I'm really not into that, but those are worth money. I was on
They
Etsy.
are.
I've seen a dealer right now selling ticket stubs from the 70s. I'm not into that, but he was getting like $50 a pop when we had them for sale. I mean, I know nothing about that, but they're definitely worth money, the ticket stubs.
You know, I was talking to Michael Snyder about you yesterday, Tony.
Oh, me?
Yeah, because we were doing this thing, and afterwards we started talking about the fact that he's got a lot of his comic books in storage, and he's got about 25,000 comic books.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, well, it's got to be worth something. You know?
Yeah.
And then I tried to figure out how I could get you in touch with him to decide, but there's no way you can get out there to look at the comic books, you know. But I mean, there's a lot there.
There's money. Yeah, if they're old, they're worth money.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure, knowing the way he collected stuff.
Did he just throw them in the thing?
If it isn't, if as a total it isn't worth a ton, there's individual stuff I'm sure that's worth a fortune. You know.
And did he? I wonder how he kept them. Probably in boxes.
Yeah, I said, did you keep them in And he says, no, I actually bought the books and read them, and then I put them in a box.
Oh, so then he's got good stuff. Yeah.
So they're probably in pretty good condition, but here's what I don't get about mint condition. They say it's mint condition if it comes in a packaging, a isinglass packaging, right?
Yeah.
And it's never been opened. All right. And you go, so you're going to buy this comic book. You're going to pay, you're going to pay $500 for it to Tony. And then you're never going to open it up and read it.
I mean,
so what use is a fucking comic book if you can't read it?
Right.
I mean, you can buy it. That's really false. You know where it comes down to? I mean, you can buy something like I have stuff off the rack, say, that I bought years ago. Mm-hmm. And you had to take it off the rack because back then I wasn't doing mail order to order my books. So I would go to the Forest Hills, go to the store. I would hang out there all day, actually. And he would let me cherry pick the books because he knew I was a fanatic, the guy in the store. But even when I went home, like, say, my Spider-Man 300, I knew I bought it in Forest Hills. And now that book I send in to get graded, which is the first Venom, I never read the book. I know that. I had multiple copies. Mm-hmm. And I sent one in to CGC, and I got a 9.6. Now, a 9.6 on a grading scale is a near mint plus is a 9.6. To get a near mint is a 9.8. Now I've gotten 9.8s on books I just pulled off the shelf.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You know what it is.
But they immediately threw them into like an envelope, right, and sealed.
Yeah, but you know what you got to do, Alex? And a lot of people can't do this. I'm very good at it. I'm not trying to brag. I could look at a book when I'm pulling it off, and if I see any type of imperfection, I would put it right back. So I was always kind of looking like for the best copy. You're not going to get it all, but I was always looking for something that didn't have any many imperfections to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in comic books, did they give like a piece of bubble gum like they did with baseball?
No.
How
They
about
had inserts in there and stuff, but they never. That was the Topps cards you're thinking of.
Wow.
You know that is? You know that is?
Ricky Valley.
Mark Twain tonight.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it?
Hal Holbrook from here's the original program.
That is cool.
It's 1959. That says program week of November 23rd, 1959. Hal Holbrook in Mark Twain tonight. The Gary Theater.
Hey,
Gary and Mason. Yeah. I have a whole stack of these, all mint condition.
Was he?
What were you going to say, John?
I'm trying to think of the movie.
I got a stack about that big. I mean, from working at, the Fillmore and the Warfield.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I got, they used to always give posters out, so I got a stack about that big of different shows.
I have the first 20, and I have them bound in a book of the first 20 National Lampoon magazines.
that's very popular underground,
including one copy of the Abby Hoffman.
Anything with Abby Hoffman.
No, but the Abby Hoffman one is even worth more than you think, because what happened was they printed it, and then before they could really ship it out to the newsstands, the warehouse burnt down, and that issue never got distributed. But I laid my hands on it because I hung out with people at the National Lampoon, and they gave me a copy of it.
I would never get rid of it.
I have one of the only copies of Abby Hoffman's.
Oh, I would something like that. I would never get rid of. I would pass it.
That's got to be worth something.
Oh yeah.
His autograph.
What's that? Who's
you know who that autograph is?
Oh, wait a minute. You got to get closer with it.
Looks like a beanbag.
Oh,
a boot.
Cowboy boot.
Oh, I
Those
know.
boots are made for walking.
Nancy Sinatra.
Nancy Sinatra. Oh, okay.
Signed them. She was at the Fillmore a long time ago, and I said, "Hey, you want to sign my boots?"
How much did you pay for? How much you pay for those boots?
God, I don't know. I bought it. These things were like probably 30 years old. They were probably $300-400, something like that.
So now with the Nancy Sinatra signature, they're worth about $200, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Is she still alive?
Hey, Nancy was
Nancy's still alive. Yeah.
It was great. I love Nancy Sinatra.
Yeah, she sang my favorite James Bond theme.
Yeah.
You only live twice.
I liked that Summer Wine. Remember Summer Wine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was never big.
Yeah, I don't have my collectibles with me. I have something that Brian might like. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I was put inside a race car in the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A friend of mine was a promoter for General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to ride around the track a couple times with somebody I had no idea who he was. And it was Dale Earnhardt. And he signed a piston out of a race car. And I've been offered like $50,000 for the piston.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
It's locked up somewhere. So.
Well, anyway, so I mean,
wasn't that exciting?
I think what we've learned here tonight, folks, is that if you buy something you like, buy two of them.
Yeah.
And use one, and then put the other one away somewhere.
Yeah.
Like computers.
No. No.
I got 729 LPs here.
Well, I got rid of, but when I came out to New York, I sold all my LPs. I got rid of most of my LPs, and I got about $4,000 for them, something like that. You know,
Your address, Charlie. I'll send you some more.
How's the ones I got?
I had a couple that were worth something, and there was one that I couldn't sell because they couldn't figure out what it was worth, and what it was a test pressing of Tommy by The Who.
Wow.
Oh.
And it on it says it's just it doesn't even have anything on the label, but there's a mimeograph. Do you remember when they mimeograph stuff? A mimeograph page that says Tommy and opera, and then somebody put a caret in there and put rock
Opera,
because they were going to just call it an opera, and then it had a list of all the songs. And these were the test pressings. And I figure the test pressings are worth something. But this guy couldn't figure out what it would be worth, you know. So, I still have it. I still have it, you know. So
search on eBay. Maybe you can find what it's worth. Somebody else has
who
one.
knows, you know. Who knows? Anyway.
I've got Tommy.
What?
I've got the LP Tommy and Quadrophenia.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I have a Tommy. The Who plays Tommy at the Fillmore Auditorium poster, and then it's signed in a card that came with it, that's signed by Peter Townsend and the two managers of the Who. And to Alex, many thanks. Whatever, I have it framed with that on there. And then it's very faint now, but it was signed in ballpoint by the guy who did the art. And I don't know how much that's worth, you know. So
You ever see that? There's this great documentary about the two guys who originally found the managers.
Kit Lambert and Chris. Chris was it Chris? Chris Stamp.
It was the brother
Chris
of
Stamp.
the actor.
Well, Chris Stamp. Chris Stamp and
and
Kit Lambert. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Stamp and Kit Lambert.
Great documentary.
And they signed it along with Peter Townsend.
Cool.
So I have that. You know, I think that's worth something. And but you know, it's and Tony will back me up on this. And Shecky's said this to me. He said,
Yeah.
these things are only worth what people are willing to pay for them.
Absolutely.
You know, so if you say, how much is it worth? Well, it's either worth $100,000 or it's worth 30 cents. It depends on what people want to pay for them.
Yeah.
So if you put it up on eBay and all of a sudden there's a bidding war and you look like GameStop, you know,
They're gonna get in trouble, Alex. Holy shit!
Well, it's actually, what do you call, Robin Hood that's in
Yeah,
trouble.
Robin's gonna get killed.
Yeah.
They're gonna go to jail. Forget that.
Something's wrong there.
They stop people from,
I mean, I don't understand exactly what went on. Can you explain it, Tony?
I don't know the whole. My brother was explaining to me. What I think it is, they were letting people buy, but they stopped people from selling. I think, and they were letting people cash out.
It was the other way around.
Was it the other way around? Okay, but so it's almost like.
So they were letting people sell, but they wouldn't let people buy.
No,
Yeah, that forced the price down.
Yeah.
They did that on the second day, but why was it going up so much?
Well, because there was so much short stock that there wasn't a lot of stock available to be bought, and then all these small time investors got together on the Reddit board and said, "Hey, let's start buying this stock." And this one guy was touting it for months, and then the next thing you know, all the people that were short, they had to cover their shares because they saw the stock going up. You know, if you've already sold it and the stock's going up, you got to cover it because you're losing money. So that just created this short squeeze, and the stock took off.
And supposedly
it's gonna fall.
No, supposedly it fell, but then it went back up again.
Yeah. But it's going to crash eventually.
Well, eventually, but as long as you're holding it now, if you decide to sell it right now and you bought it low, you're going to make a lot of money unless the Fed show up at your front door on Monday, you know.
I mean, usually when they stop a stock like that, the NASDAQ or the market would just shut it down, buying or selling. They would just totally shut everything down.
Well, you know what they used to do? They don't do. They don't. You know what they don't do anymore?
They would stop both. They would freeze.
When the stock market, a couple of years ago, I remember the stock market suddenly surged upward. They would limit its surge.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would stop it. They would cap it.
Yeah.
But now they don't. That's why these numbers kept going up and up and up and up and up. I mean, now we're over what? Over almost up around 31,000 points.
They were doing bad, Alex, financially. Most of them were closing up.
Still are. They're not making. They still are.
Again, the stock market is another situation of it's
not worth $50.
A stock is only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the biggest. What it really is the biggest casino in the world. You know, biggest legal casino in the world. And
GameStop went up $131.40 today to $325.
Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been into GameStop, but I have only once. Most of the time, I just walk past it, and I like playing games.
I used to go into all the time, pre-order my stuff, and then they never. Every time I pre-ordered, Alex, they'd be like, "Oh, we didn't have enough copies coming."
Yeah, but the thing is, you could go on Amazon and get it cheaper.
That's what I did. Then I used to go there all the time for like the Sega games. I used to pre-order it, and I used to go. "Oh, we didn't get enough in." It's just you give me my money back. Once Amazon came in, I just went to them directly.
Yeah, Amazon, it's much cheaper, you know. So
at least you know if you place a pre-order, he's going to get it to you.
Hey, did you guys hear the Amanda Gorman is going to be at the Super Bowl.
Is she
Oh,
really?
wow.
Yeah.
She's going to be reading at the Super Bowl.
Oh,
And do the
okay.
poetry.
Yeah, she was very
First
good.
Super Bowl poet.
She was very good. But, you know, my question was, where were we when she wasn't famous?
Yeah.
You know, she was still just as good. You know, I think I mentioned to you last night about Howard, didn't I? About Howard Stern. What he said about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still looking for a copy of the goddamn quote or whatever.
He quoted you again, Alex? I didn't.
What?
He said something again. I didn't listen to them this week. I was.
Oh no, he did a thing where he said that I was. I don't know how it was put. Wait a minute, hold on a second. My friend Walter Sabo sent me a thing. Let me see. It's under nice letters. Here we go. He said, and I quote. Wait a minute. Come on. Where is it? Where
Is Sabo still at 70 or something like that?
What?
ABC?
Is he still on the radio
Yeah, he's around. He does a show
somewhere?
Yeah, he said that this morning at 8:54, Howard Stern said, "What a great host you are, and how much he likes you."
Oh wow!
That certainly is nothing like what he was
I
saying.
remember what I was going to say.
There was nothing like he was saying about me for all those other years. You know, but all of a sudden,
Maybe he had some good drugs.
it could be either that, or maybe he's dying of something and he suddenly wants to make amends in his life. You
Let me
know?
have you on the show, Alex. If he asked you on the show, would you go?
No,
You'd have to.
no,
No.
no.
Hey, Alex, I was going to say, I think I got a poster for one of those New Year's Eve gigs that was at the one of those New Year's Eve gigs that you guys were doing.
Yeah.
At the Piles of Fine Arts.
Yeah.
I got one of those posters for that somewhere.
Yeah, I have them all stored somewhere. I have no idea where I put them. I think
I find it's hard to find you on the internet, Alex.
What?
I mean,
are you kidding me?
No, when I look for interviews that you've done and stuff, like the other one you did the other day and you put on Facebook when Larry King died.
That was good.
I saw that one, but I can't find a lot of stuff. Maybe
It's
I'm on the wrong
amazing
site.
because I have found so much of my past on the internet that I've been able to reclaim a lot of my old interviews just by going
Maybe I ought
online.
to try a different internet search engine.
Just use Google. Just put in
That's what I'm
Alex
using.
Bennett. It's an endless supply of stuff with Alex
I'll
Bennett.
have to look again.
Yeah, no. In fact, I'm surprised every now and then somebody comes up with something else they found, or that was suddenly some guy, when he was a kid, he liked my show, so he recorded me on a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and all of a sudden he puts it up on YouTube, and there I am. I found an old Ramones interview that I did.
I found that too, Alex. Like I traded with somebody for that.
Yeah.
I found it on radio message boards. He posted up with the Ramones. I said, I got to get that. I said,
yeah. So I mean, it's
and that was clear when he gave it to me.
It's definitely a lot of stuff about me on there. Not that I care,
So
it doesn't do me any good,
Our buddy Phil says that he was your producer in the 70s.
Yeah, for a short time. Yeah.
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 Did you fire him, Alex, or no?
No, I didn't fire him.
Oh,
He helped out. He was helping out. So he.
Oh, our friend
He
Phil.
said you had hair then too.
Huh?
He said that you had a full head of hair then too.
Yeah, I guess I did. I can't-
Eventually, when you were born.
Yeah, well, he first knew me in New York City. It goes back that far. Yeah.
He said sometime in the early 70s is when he met you.
But anyway, if Howard asked me to be on a show, would I go on? Yeah, maybe just to plug this. I mean, that's the only reason I'd do it.
You should tell him. Imagine if he called into the to the live show. That'd be better. The last time I listened to him, he's afraid to leave the house because of the. He says on the radio because of the whole pandemic.
And we're just as happy he isn't. So I mean, it's. Hey, listen, I'm afraid to leave the house.
I know. I don't.
Yeah.
That's why.
How
I
about
got
you,
a
Jeff?
hat.
You're afraid to leave the house, aren't you?
Me?
Jeff.
Oh,
I
Jeff,
don't
yeah,
leave.
talk a bit.
Huh?
I don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And how about you, John? Well, I saw you were out on your skateboard or something the
Yeah,
other
I
night.
have to go out sometime, but I, I don't drive anywhere. I just keep away from people and keep my mask on.
It's very cold now. So I decided just to take a drive with the car just to get it warmed up a little bit
Yeah.
and get the oil around and whatever. And I didn't go anywhere. And I just went around a couple of places and came back, never got off, never stopped, and I was in the middle of nowheres where nobody bothered me. And
Yeah. Well, I'm too close.
that was a big day,
My feeling is, you got the shot, right?
Monday.
Oh, you're getting the shot Monday.
Monday.
We're down. Some of us are down to the end of the, what do we call it? Down to the wire on this.
Yeah.
And
the
we don't
second
want
one.
it to screw up. We and even at that, you only have 95% protection. And knowing me, I'll get the other 5%. You know what they said about this? I hate talking about this all the time.
But it won't be severe though.
But this Johnson and Johnson,
Yes.
number one, I wouldn't want it for one reason. It only protects you 70%, maybe 65. All right.
Yeah.
But what it
But
does
100%
do, what
against
it does do that the other two don't do is, let's say you come down with COVID and they shoot you up with this Johnson and Johnson, it will sometimes mitigate the severity of the attack.
Well, they think the other two, the Moderna and the Pfizer, will do the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, why put out a vaccine that doesn't prevent you from getting really sick if you get sick?
No. But what they're saying is, let's say you come down with COVID, you haven't had anything, okay?
Right.
And then they give you the Johnson and Johnson. It may lessen the severity
Oh, while you actually have COVID.
while you have COVID.
Right,
Yeah,
but you're not going to die.
that's what
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what Johnson and
That's
Johnson.
the only thing they're willing to say.
That's what Johnson and Johnson is claiming.
Right.
And if
I
they,
think they give you free Band-Aids too.
what
They
I
say
Close my eyes. Man.
But you know that news came out today, Alex, and my Johnson and Johnson stock went down by $5.50. So
well, my Johnson just goes down.
Johnson and Johnson. Your Johnson, my Johnson.
What happened? It went down 5%. Why did it go down 5%?
$5.50 a share.
Wow.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah,
It's
but
a
they don't
gamble.
even produce it.
Because it's a stock market. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
who knows?
Stocks go up and down.
But
It used to be a custom.
It actually went down $6.03 to 163.13. Why? I have no idea. They had great news tonight about I saw something that said the investors were looking for 80% efficiency, and because it's only 65,
It went down because the whole stock market went down. Everything was down.
everything
Yeah, I
was
saw-
down today,
yep.
supposedly. But
ours is up.
yeah.
Are you publicly held?
So Alex, I'll ask this
Wait a
question.
minute. Yes, Jeff. Jeff wants to ask me a question. It's to call.
Right,
it's-
here we go.
it-
On Monday,
yeah.
I'm going to get an injection.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if they gave me the Johnson and Johnson?
No, you won't get the Johnson and Johnson.
You won't get it. Hasn't
I
been
know you
approved.
can. It's only going to be for 2 weeks.
It's
maybe.
not. No, it's not available yet. It won't be.
I know,
And
I
even
said-
even when they okay it, it's
Say
going to
it
be.
was.
What?
Would you recommend it? Or
No,
not recommend
I
it?
reckon. You know a lot about this, Alan. What would you say?
I would say I would if it was approved, is what you're saying.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah.
been approved, but if they approved it, if the FDA approved it,
Yeah.
if you had a choice between that and the Pfizer Moderna, I would take the Pfizer Moderna because it's better protection. But if
what the hell? You actually got some? You got the visual.
Sorry. My son is like.
if the Pfizer and Moderna was not around, the Johnson and Johnson would be considered pretty good, since the flu shot in an average year is between 40 and 50%. Now the flu doesn't usually kill people; it kills some people, but not everybody like this stuff. So I would take the Johnson and Johnson if that's all that was available.
If that was all that was available, yes, absolutely. But if the other two are available, I'd take one of the other two.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you wouldn't do it rather than make the decision to wait until you could get one of the other ones.
I would say that at this point, I wouldn't play with time. You know?
Be patient.
Yeah. So what the CDC and the FDA are saying right now is they're not sure if you can mix the Johnson and Johnson type of vaccine with Moderna and Pfizer type of vaccine. They're not sure what will happen, and so there's because some people were saying, well, if I get the Pfizer and then 4 or 5 weeks, 3 weeks later, whatever, I'm due for my next shot and Johnson and Johnson is out, can I take that instead? And the answer right now is no.
No way.
Well, is it no because it doesn't enhance anything, or is it no because it would be detrimental?
Yeah, they just don't know,
So in other words, we are the biggest bunch of lab rats known to mankind, right?
Got that right.
Just a bunch of old people.
Yeah.
Only us old people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Charlie's right.
Now, Trucker Steve, you're getting it, aren't you? The shot?
Yeah, I haven't booked an appointment yet, though, but
yeah,
eventually I will.
I would have been in doctor, and that would have been a bad situation for me.
Yeah, but anyway, so whatever. Forget about it. I don't want to talk about that anymore. It's got me so upset. It's got me so upset that I'm waiting 38 days for my next shot.
Change the subject. Hey, talking about documentaries, how was the Comedy Store one? I want to watch
It's
that.
very good.
Is that
It's very good.
Okay.
It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be in the world.
What is that? What is that audio?
It's my son talking really loud on his playing the game because we have to share this room. I keep telling him just
tell him to shut the.
I keep telling him he doesn't care. He doesn't listen to. He doesn't listen to anything I tell him. Listen to that. He doesn't care.
Who's he talking to?
It's somebody on the internet.
Oh,
I don't
he
know.
hit the mic on the thing.
Yeah.
Well, are you near the Wi-Fi? Maybe you can shut off his Wi-Fi or something.
Oh, he's hardwired in.
Oh, well, you can pull the plug.
Yeah, I can do that.
How old
If
is
it's
he?
hardwired, it's coming out of the router.
He's 18.
Well, you know, Ray, if you pull the plug, we'll probably get to see the first homicide on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably get your numbers up.
Yeah.
My kid's playing Valorant. Valorant?
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Valorant.
Hey, William, you playing Valorant?
It's a competitive game.
He only hears me when he wants to. Like, if I say something he needs to hear, and he could have like 3 headphones on, and he'll hear it. I could be whispering, but then when he says something that I can't hear you.
Fallout 76, he plays a lot.
Typical 18-year-old.
Yeah.
The hearing of what has good hearing.
You know what happens is I like playing games because they're they are they're relaxing for me, and they're not exactly relaxing because I'm exhausted when I'm through. But I found this game I really like lately called The Last of Us Part 2. And I get to a certain point on it, right? And I got towards the middle of the game, right? And you got to, it's a shooter game, but it's also, you got to do this and you got to do that and you've got to sneak past things and you got to do, it's not an action game as much as it's a role-playing game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's kind of like a Tomb Raider or any of these other games where you do a variety of things. And I liked the game, but the problem is, on that one, I got to a point where I got to this one thing, and I can't, for the life of me, get past it.
Oh.
And I just lose interest. Okay? So then I went on, I got The Last of Us Part 1 that came out a couple of years ago. And the same thing happened to me. I got about halfway through the game, and then I hit a point where I can't get past a certain point. And it just frustrates me, and I just go, fuck it. I'll wait till the next game comes out, and I'll buy that one. get
There's
halfway
some
through.
10-year-old. There's some 10-year-old that flies right by that section.
Yeah.
Oh
Can't
yeah,
you
oh
just
yeah,
search-
oh no! Well, you know what I do? I go online and there's this
Yeah.
guy named Rad Brad who plays all these games. And by the way, I enjoy watching him play the games, right? And I'll watch him play the game and see how he gets past this certain point. And I go, he just went blah 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 blah, and he's through it. And meanwhile, I can't. I'm dead every time I tried it like 100 times. I couldn't get past this certain point, so I gave up. You know. But what were you laughing about, Jeff? You don't play these games, do you?
No, I don't play those. But I think if you were like about 65 years younger, you'd be okay.
I don't know if I'd be okay. I don't know if I'd be okay. I mean,
I think there's a certain youngster strategy for this stuff that works better.
No, I'm the same today as I was then. I have nothing to do with my miserable life. And so I can spend hours playing these games. And when I was younger, I had nothing to do with my miserable life, and I could spend hours playing those games. You know, only when I was growing up, there weren't those games. Our games were, let's see, tag, hide and seek. Yeah.
Cowboys and Indians.
Cowboys
and Indians. Those were the games we played.
I would think your favorite, Alex, would be Doctor with your girlfriend.
Oh, Doctor was always fun. Yeah.
That's a good
I never
game.
played Doctor. I played Flipper. I played Flipper with a girl.
What is Flipper?
What's Flipper?
Well, I was like a dolphin, and she was like saving me in a swimming pool. When I
Oh,
was like
that sounds
7.
fun.
Yeah, I was in love with her. I was 7, I think. Yeah.
Well, that's not as much fun as
You were
playing.
8, she was 9.
Playing.
Yeah,
Doctor.
she was like 8 or 9. I was 7 or 8.
And now,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, since our lives are just toast anyway, and we have nothing to do with of any meaning, John Larkin will now play his clarinet.
No, not for 5 minutes.
Go, John.
Well, watch it. I can almost get the high notes. Watch, I can do like a scale, but
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's
God,
really.
my glass just broke.
It's really.
Sorry. It's fucking hard. It's the hardest instrument in the. It's a hard instrument.
Oh, it's a hard instrument, especially you know, the reed, and you got to get the reed good and wet. And,
Yeah.
You know. What I did is that my father, paid for lessons for me musically because my father's a musician. We were a musical family, and I somehow didn't play anything. So he then first he tried to teach me the violin, and that I didn't play very well. I had a baby violin when I was a baby. It was about this big, but I couldn't get that. So then I said, well, trombone sounds like a good idea. So he got me a trombone, and he got me somebody in the band that he knew to help give me trombone lessons. But I was too lazy. I didn't like holding the thing up. Okay? That was too much work for me. And the only thing I liked about the trombone is I liked playing it enough so that I could then open the spit valve and spit would come out. I remember that. So we gave up on the trombone. What else did I try? But finally, and then I taught myself to play the piano a little bit. You know, I could play a little bit of piano. That was about it. You know, but finally one day, you know, after I got into the business, my father said, well, he said, you never learned an instrument, but you play your instrument better than I play mine, you know.
Well, that's because you were younger.
No, but my instrument was radio, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he says, you play a turntable better than I play a violin. So I always thought,
Alex, how old were you when he passed away?
I think I was maybe like 23, something like
Wow.
that. Maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he
wait,
died.
did
He died.
see
He
you-
died.
So he saw you at. Where were you working around then?
I was just working small little radio stations. My father died while I was in. While I was in the Navy. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had done some radio around. I mean, he knew that. You know, he helped me get my first job, my first professional job in
K-Tim?
in Reno, Nevada. The one at KTIM was came later, oddly enough. He knew a guy who owned a radio station in Reno, Nevada, so I got a job up there. And
he shipped you up there.
Yeah, but he never saw me really get well known or anything like that. He died. He died at 59. What?
What was your job in the Navy?
I was a journalist, third class.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason I became a journalist is a good reason. Number one, you do broadcasting as a journalist. Right. But the other reason is that there were only something like 79 journalists in the entire Navy.
Wow.
And only 2 or 3 of them were on a ship. So I went, that's for me. You know.
No stars and stripes, huh?
Yeah, but I left with, I was a journalist third class, you know, after 2 years in the Navy, and then I was out. So, because it was a Navy Reserve, so I only had to do 2 years. What?
And what's your joke? Right? Don't you say no ships ever went past?
Then I worked at the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. As a seaman apprentice for most of it. I finally got.
Did they have ships then?
And the thing was, well, no. What I said is my big joke is that I was in Hollywood at the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service, and you may laugh at that, but no enemy planes ever got past Santa Monica Boulevard on my watch. You know.
Boom. There we go. That's a oldie but a goodie.
It's always an oldie but goodie joke. I think I've been doing that one since you listened to me on radio in San Francisco, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, it was, hey, we're slowly running out of time here tonight. We're slowly running out of time if you believe that the whole world's coming to an end within a week and a half. Every week they come up with a new mutation of the coronavirus, and you're going to have to get a shot every week.
Need a booster.
Yeah.
We're still in the cushion.
I'll take a quote.
Fauci says we're still in the cushion of the, the virus. We're testing and
the vaccines.
I'm not planning on it clearing up anytime soon. I know that even though I'm going to get the shot, I ain't going out. I'm sorry.
Stay safe.
Hey, listen, it's been a lot of fun tonight. I hope everybody listening to us, those of you who are. Been very low listening levels lately. I don't know why. I think everybody just is, we're not talking politics and we're not getting into all of that. We probably, some night here, we should talk about what's going on with Biden and,
we need to fight more.
We need to fight more. Well, let me just say to fuck all of you, okay? Fuck you, Trucker Steve. Fuck you, Charlie Wallace. Fuck you, Brian Neary. Alan, go blow yourself. John Larkin, screw you. Tony, I like Tony. Jeff, go smell a fart. Let me see here. And Ray Johnson and Johnson Jr. Ray Renati, thank you so much. Everybody, why don't you give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye back at you. Okay, there they go. That's our citizen panel for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that little interruption we had in the show. I don't know what that was. I don't know how it affected itself out there, but I know your picture probably went froze up or something like that. Anyway, we'll figure out what that was all about, although we may never find out. We're going to get out of here. Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. Gabnet Live is the address you use for Skype, which is the thing he uses. I'll see you again Monday with the pop-up show at 4 o'clock, and see you again next Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, as always, same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her. And by the way, it's really hell out there. So wear a mask and stay safe, okay? We need every audience member we can get. Bye.